As the 2016 wildfire season begins, we take this opportunity to examine current federal laws and policies in place that strengthen tribal capabilities and capacity for responding to and preventing wildfires on tribal lands. According to the National Interagency Fire Center, last year approximately 4.8 million acres of federal land managed by the Department of Interior burned as a result of wildland fires. Of that amount, over 500,000 acres of BIA land burned due to wildfires. In my home state of Wyoming, over 3,000 acres of BIA land burned on the Wind River Reservation. That's just last year. The BIA has a backlog of nearly 3.2 million acres of Indian forest land requiring forest health treatments. If solutions aren't found to expedite this treatment, these acres will burn. This will cost hundreds of millions of dollars to suppress the fire and deprive tribes of the economic value of their forest assets. The Department of Interior carries out the trust responsibilities to manage and protect Indian forests. The Department of Agriculture, specifically the U.S. Forest Service, is the primary neighbor of Indian lands with over 4,000 miles of shared boundaries. Over 18 million acres of forests are located in over 305 Indian reservations in 24 states. These forests are vital to many Indian and rural communities. They provide a foundation of job creation, economic development, and cultural preservation. But one fire can destroy all of that. For example, the summer of 2015 produced one of the largest wildfires on the Colville Reservation in Washington State. According to the National Interagency Coordination Center, the North Star wildland fire on the Colville Reservation was the 5th most expensive wildfire in this country. That fire consumed over 250,000 acres of forest and devastated more than 14% of its commercial timber. Now, commercial timber revenues make up about $10 million of the approximately $45 million annual operating budget for the Confederated Tribes of Colville on the reservation. After that destructive fire season, tribal leaders began to question federal firefighting priorities. One witness today, William Nicholson, board member of the Intertribal Timber Council, wrote to the Interior Secretary Sally Jewell in December of 2015 about his concern about new and proposed Interior Department policies for wildland fire management. He noted that the Intertribal Timber Council found the department's risk-based wildland fire management funding allocation model, in his words, quote, deeply flawed. The council further stated that the failure to correct this model and its application would result in increased long-term risk to tribal and other resources managed by the Department of Interior. The council further criticized Secretarial Order 3336, which they believe prioritizes federal firefighting resources towards protecting sage-grouse habitat over tribal and other previous priorities. The letter states, "We are frankly bewildered that Secretarial Order 3336 concerning the sage-grouse appears to take precedence over all other secretarial directives at the expense of all other species, ecosystems, and responsibilities." In September of 2015, the Northwest Public Radio article, "The Northwest Liaison for the National Interagency Fire Center," stated, quote, "The single overriding suppression priority is the protection of human life. After that, we start looking at the protection of communities, infrastructure, property, and any improvements that may be in place, and then we go on down to natural and cultural resources." What this means is other factors such as roads and other structures are given higher priorities, which means cultural resources are given a back seat. Now, these examples raise serious concerns. The Secretary must ensure that the trust obligation to tribes is not infringed on by the very agencies that are entrusted to carry it out. More transparency in agency decision-making in terms of where assets go in preventing and fighting wildfires is needed so that tribal priorities are given their proper consideration. Senator Daines has introduced legislation which is supported by the Intertribal Timber Council S. 3014, the Tribal Forestry Participation and Protection Act of 2016, which we will take up here today. This bill would increase interagency forest management between the tribes, the Department of Agriculture, and the Department of Interior. This bill will also create a 10-year pilot program that authorizes the Secretaries of Interior and Agriculture, at the request of an Indian tribe, in consultation with state and local governments, to treat federal forest lands as Indian forest land for the sole purpose of expediting forest health projects on federal lands that have a direct connection to the tribe. This bill gives the Secretary of Agriculture and Interior authority to enter into 638 contracts with tribes to complete administrative functions under the Tribal Forest Protection Act of 2014, rather than requiring that the federal government do it for them.